your business. Our approach involves leveraging multiple tools and strategies to deliver exceptional results that are customized to your unique business needs. Don't wait to run out of sales leads. Keep your business growing. Get started with aimyourdigital.com today.
At Elk Grove Honda, not only do we have a great selection of pre-owned certified cars at very fair prices, but every one of our pre-owned automobiles are treated with kid gloves with a 182-point inspection that covers everything from unibody to tires to brakes and engine filters. Then our certified cars receive a mobile oil change and fresh fill-up with full synthetic mobile oil. We know you have lots of choices of where to purchase your next car. Come to Elk Grove Honda, home of the 182-point inspection and mobile oil change. We're in the Elk Grove Auto Mall, Highway 99 at Elk Grove Boulevard.
KHTK AM HD1 Sacramento, KYMX HD2 Sacramento.
From the Power Business Technology Toshiba Studios, your home for the Sacramento Kings.
It's Sactown Sports.
Sactown Sports.
Headlines.
I'm Chris Verlod with your Sactown Sports headlines. Sacramento Kings winning record came to an end. Winning streak on the road came to an end last night. They lost 128 to 120 to the Utah Jazz. Kings end their 4-game road trip with a 3-1 record, but have dropped down to the 3rd seed in the Western Conference after the Grizzlies beat the Mavericks 112 to 108 yesterday. Kings will not have much time to think about the loss. They're back in action tonight when they host the Boston Celtics. For more on this game, you can check out our Kings insider Frankie Cardacelli's preview on SactownSports.com. You can listen to the game with game night starting at 5:30 and tip-off scheduled for 7 right here on Sactown Sports. And now it's time for Chris and Company.
He's born in Sacramento. He's raised in Sacramento.
And now he takes over the airwaves in Sacramento.
It's Chris and Company with Sacramento's Chris Watkins
on Sactown Sports.
Happy Tuesday, Chris and Company. Got the other Chris back. Verlot is back in the building as well. Coming off last night's, I don't even know how to describe it. It was definitely disappointing for sure. I mean, yesterday felt like it had to be a win just with the circumstances of the Utah Jazz being without their 3 best players. You would hope that the Kings could have used last night as a potential opportunity to get up early, maintain that big lead, and then just kind of coast through that fourth quarter. Have a game today against the Boston Celtics. You would hope that you could have used yesterday's fourth quarter as a little bit of rest for some of your main guys. But that's just not what happened. Here we are again. Feels like the 4th straight game now that I've talked about the Kings getting off to a slow start. And this time it cost them. It really did. I mean, they were down 40-19 at the end of that first quarter. And, yeah, I mean, it took them pretty much 2.5 quarters to just erase that mistake. It's great that they were able to eventually come back and make that game even, but that it's just, it was a little too late. As I just said with Jason and on the last segment there, it was De'Aaron Fox and Harrison Barnes had to put a lot of effort into that comeback in that second quarter just to keep the Kings afloat. And then third quarter, De'Aaron continued his greatness. Keegan knocked down 5 threes, if I'm not mistaken, in that third quarter. But it just wasn't enough. It was too much. It was too much to come back from. And by the fourth quarter, you could tell they didn't have the same legs. Kings fall to the Jazz last night, 128-120. They're now 11-3 post All-Star. 7 straight road win streak now snapped. That was the second longest in the Sacramento era, behind the 02 Kings. They had 9. But you got to take a step back too, I mean, the Kings were 3-1 on this road trip. And the competition wasn't, the most difficult. Chicago, Brooklyn, Utah last night. Who am I forgetting? I'm forgetting one more. But, the road, it wasn't a bunch of world beaters in this road trip. And they, for them to finish 3-1 at any point, that's it. We should take that as a win. This team likes to take their season in 5-game chunks. And, if you're looking at the Kings' last 5, they're 3-2. But, that one other loss coming against the Milwaukee Bucks. So a little more understandable. But, the Kings have played great. I don't think yesterday is anything that we need to really freak out too much about. It wasn't great. It reminded me a lot, especially in that first quarter of the Knicks game at Madison Square Garden that the Kings had earlier this season. It also reminded me a lot, especially with the comeback of that Portland game. That was the first game that we had post All-Star break where Damian Lillard doesn't play, Jeremy Grant doesn't play. I don't think Nurkic played that day. I don't think Anthony Simons played that game. And yet Portland still found themselves up big early. And they let Nazir Little go off early in that game. Pretty similar. It's not the first time we've seen this Kings team come out to a slow start and then just have to dig themselves out. And so it's concerning that, they've had a couple of these, but again, it's really, I think, as concerning as it is, it's just as big of a positive that they're able to dig themselves out of it. They're able to, compose themselves in the middle of the fire and, come out the other side calm, relaxed, and focused on and knowing how to handle it. I really thought the way that they came back in that second and third, or specifically the third quarter, it was incredible. Just how they were getting so many open shooters, the way that they were attacking the paint, not necessarily to score. That was one of the first things I noticed in that second half was especially huge shout out Harrison Barnes, who had a huge second quarter, but it felt like Harrison was just attacking that paint, trying to collapse with his only goal of collapsing the defense. He wasn't trying to get into the paint to get to the line, which he of course did really well yesterday, which he always does really well. But he was crashing the paint so that he was driving the paint so that the defense would collapse on him. And once they collapsed, he would find that's where Keegan Murray was getting his open looks. De'Aaron Fox. Shout out. De'Aaron has, it feels like his confidence with his perimeter shot has definitely gone to another level. Whether or not, his actual shooting ability is matching up with that confidence is a different story. But I think confidence with your shot is a huge part of your shot going down, is just believing that it will. Having that confidence. We saw him take 12 threes the other day. Yesterday, how many did he end up taking yesterday? He was 6 of 9 from 3 yesterday. And just in the second and third quarter, I've been pointing out how De'Aaron really did have the team on his back in the middle of that game. If you just take his stats from the second and third quarter, De'Aaron had 30 points in 2 quarters, 11 of 13, 5 of 6 from 3. Incredible. Just incredible. Again, on a night, this is a different way of carrying the team on his back. We've seen him in the fourth quarter just completely take over games. And, people have asked, why can't he do it in all 4 quarters? Last night's an exact example why. You get burned out. And I don't think De'Aaron was exhausted come the stretch of that fourth quarter, but I think he just didn't have extra boost. He didn't have a stamina advantage over the guys in the fourth quarter because of how hard he had to work in that second and third quarter. And so once it got down to the nitty-gritty in that late fourth, and Utah, to their credit, the zone that they switched into that fourth quarter looked like a 3-2 to me. De'Aaron called it a 1-3-1. It really gave the Kings trouble. It prevented them from getting in the paint, which, as I mentioned earlier, was a big reason why they were getting all their threes. And it just prevented them from getting a lot of easy looks. They really had to work their half-court offense And Utah, to their credit, had a lot of long, rangy defenders who were incredibly active. That's the thing about going against a team that doesn't have their stars. Defensively, you know they're going to give a lot of effort because they're trying to prove their rotational spot. Offensively, I looked it up. The Jazz had 33 assists last night. 33 assists. That's their third highest total of the season. And why is that? Let me do a little Brian Wynn. Why is that? Why is that? Why would they do that? It's because when your stars aren't playing, when your main bucket getters aren't going, you just move the ball around more. It makes sense. You don't have the guys that you're normally feeding it to, and you got your go get a bucket guys, your Jordan Clarkson specifically, Colin Sexton, Lauri Markkanen has definitely been that guy for them this year. They didn't have those guys. And so with that, more ball movement. The Kings had to pay a lot more attention and move a lot more defensively than I think they were prepared to. And Utah just caught them off guard. It was good to see, again, like I'm not taking much negative out of last night. It wasn't good. It wasn't fun to watch. It wasn't pretty. It's not the result we wanted. It's not the game we wanted. But it's not the end of the season. Last night didn't show some huge hole that we didn't know this team had before. If anything, it's a good reminder, again, of just staying focused on the task, taking it night by night. I'm sure there was a little bit of the Kings looking ahead in the schedule. They come home today after a 4-game road trip. Today is their 5th game in 7 nights. It's a lot. So I'm sure, they're overlooking a Utah team that doesn't have their stars. Kings knowing that today they would have to come fly into Sacramento and play Boston, a team that has absolutely had their number the past 2 years. I'm sure I would almost guarantee that they just overlooked last night and we're too focused on today. So you hope that today you get that effort. You get a performance that is fun to watch. And it's not going to be easy. We all know how good Boston is. They're the number 2 seed right now in the Eastern Conference. They've got Tatum and Brown, 2 guys who are going to present matchup nightmares for the Kings. They just don't have, it's going to be a long night for Keegan. It's going to be a long night for Harrison Barnes, who's going to be tasked with the responsibility of probably guarding both Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum tonight, on top of whatever he has to provide offensively. But that's just a regular routine night for Harrison Barnes. Speaking about routine, by the way, before we head to break here, let's talk a little bit about Domantas Sabonis, who again, yesterday, before we get into the bad of yesterday, let's just mention first off, huge shout out Domas, who got named back-to-back Western Conference Player of the Week. Can't think of the last time that happened to a King. Had to have been Chris Webber. 22.8 points, 16 rebounds, 10 assists, a 3-1 record last week for Domas. That one loss coming to the Milwaukee Bucks. Averaged 16 rebounds last week. Of course, that 20-plus rebound game against Brooklyn definitely helps those stats. But, yesterday on the show, Nate asked me what a bad Domas game looks like. And I think I said like 14, 12, and 7. Well, I think last night we saw what a bad Domas game looked like. 11 points, 12 rebounds, 9 assists, 4 of 10 from the field. 40% has to be one of Domas's lowest field goal percentages of the season. He's just not been that guy. He's an incredibly efficient on a nightly basis. So to see him go 4 of 10 and Walker Kessler just gave him fits all night. Blocked him 4 times. Kessler ended up with 5 blocks, but 4 of those were on Domas. So that, like I mentioned, that zone was giving the Kings fits. Walker Kessler was giving the Kings fits. Domas didn't have it last night. You're going to have those nights sometimes, and you just got to move on to the next one. Got another one tonight. Have the Kings been playing with fire and are about to get burned? We talk about that next right here on Chris and Company on Sactown Sports 1140 and SactownSports.com.
It's Cattles and Rami.
He sounds like Batman. When I went into the darkness, there was one single lonely bar of Wi-Fi. This guy. Yes. When I rose from the darkness, this dude is so there was a shift. I was a different person.
He's just so extra, right?
And he's going to Gotham. He's literally going to Gotham.
You know people. He is. You know people in your life that are just extra. This dude's so extra.
So extra.
Cattles and Rami, weekday afternoons from 2 to 6 on Sactown Sports.
Do you know what people see when they Google you? Search engines don't always get it right. And when they're wrong, it's your reputation on the line. So what do you do when you don't agree with your search results? Call Reputation Defender at 800-401-6681. Reputation Defender by Norton is one of the most trusted names in online reputation repair. We have over a decade of experience in fixing people's search results, and we can help you too. Using cutting-edge approaches, Reputation Defender pushes unflattering information down to lower pages of your search results, where few people ever look. We also promote the good stuff so that it rises to the top, letting you put your best foot forward. Your good name is too valuable to leave to the whims of a Google algorithm. You owe it to yourself to take control with Reputation Defender. Visit www.reputationdefender.com or call 800-401-6681 for free advice on your situation. 800-401-6681. That's 800-401-6681.
Live and local, it's Chris and Company with Chris Watkins on Sactown Sports.
Yeah. Chris and Company, Sactown Sports 1140. Check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/Sactown Sports 1140. Download the Sactown Sports 1140 app. You can also check us out on the Listen Live tab on SactownSports.com. If you're in the YouTube chat right now, please be sure to hit that thumbs up. Means a lot. Means a lot. I might need to like make that a competition where like who could I maybe I'll do like a like for like with not Duzamo. They would just wreck. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Maybe with game night or something. I'll do a competition with game night. I'm gonna try and beat game night's likes. So let's get our like count as high as we can, so I can rub it in Scott Marsh's face later. Please do me that favor. I mentioned the Kings just kind of playing with fire a little bit on this road trip, where it doesn't feel like their offense. And really their defense either their defense really hasn't been together all season, but it just feels like they're kind of hitting a little bit of a wall right now in terms of just flow. Things haven't gone the Kings' way offensively, especially how many times have I mentioned at the start of this show that it feels like the last 4 games they've gotten off to slow starts. And their offense hasn't been scoring nearly at the level that it was, say, 2 weeks ago, where they had 120 in 8 straight games or whatever it was. And naturally, that's going to happen for sure. You can't be 120 points after every game for sure. 117 against Chicago. Chicago's a good defensive team for sure. Kings didn't look their best. The Brooklyn game, I mean, that goes without saying. 101-96. That was a slugfest. That was a game that even Mike Brown said it was a gritty win. Not something he expected to ever say about this team, was to really grit and grind their way to a win. And then Washington, they did end up eventually opening up their offense and having one of their best offensive games all season for sure, but that game started terribly. And so I guess it's more just the slow starts. And last night we see them give up 128 points to a downed Utah team, going down 25 at one point. It's just a little concerning. And, it's it's okay because other teams are dealing with, let me first say this too, or I guess not first, but other teams are dealing with a lot more struggles than what the Kings are right now. The team the Kings are playing tonight, Boston, they're 7-6 since the All-Star break. That's frankly what I expected from the Kings. If you all remember, I'll call myself out gladly. I was saying post All-Star break that I thought this team was going to hover around 500 maybe, just because of how tough their schedule was and how they had performed leading up to the All-Star break in terms of playing those better teams in the league. So I will say that, the Kings, it's not doom and gloom. And when I'm pointing all this stuff out, it's not to, emphasize any negative feelings I have towards this team, because I actually have a lot more positive towards this Kings team. It's just, there are some concerns. There are definitely some concerns defensively. And with the playoffs right around the corner, and the Kings having a really, and you could have said this at any point post All-Star, but now they have a really tough stretch of games to close out this season. It's not a good time for this team to kind of be hitting these speed bumps. I'm much rather now than really with 3 to 4 games left. They still have some time to figure it out. It's just a little concerning. And their schedule, I mentioned their schedule coming up. They're about to, on this 4-game homestand they have here, they play 4 playoff teams. Tonight against Boston, who, and by the way, all of these playoff teams are still jostling for seeding, which makes these games important not only for the Kings, but for the teams that they're playing as well. Probably going to go 100%. Tonight they play Boston. Boston's a half game ahead of Philly Philly's at number 3, Boston's at 2. And Boston's still only 2.5 games back of Milwaukee for that number 1 spot. So Boston's fighting for their playoff positioning. Phoenix, we know the Phoenix at this point probably isn't touching the Kings. 4 games back of the Kings right now. But they're only a half game ahead of the Clippers. A half game ahead of the Clippers. So they're going to be jostling for the rest of this season for positioning. That's on Friday. On Saturday, they play Utah again. In Utah and then Minnesota. And Utah and Minnesota are currently in a 3-way tie for that 8th spot right now. They're only a half game behind Dallas. They're a game behind the Warriors at number 6. But also, they're only a half game ahead of being out of the play-in in a game behind New Orleans at the 12th spot. And so those games for Minnesota and Utah are going to be huge. Huge. Like potentially like throwing the kitchen sink at us, because they have to get ahead in the standings. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be an easy trip for these Sacramento Kings. But the good news is they have had a tough schedule post All-Star break, and they've handled it wonderfully. As good as you could have possibly hoped. They've handled it. You just got to hope that they, again, maybe you just got to avoid a real streak here, because with losing last night, you got Boston today, and then you have Phoenix on Friday. You don't want to lose 3 in a row. I think you're safe in terms of Phoenix catching you, but you just don't want to put yourself in a situation where you can slide. Things turn. You don't want to head into the postseason playing 500 basketball your last 10 games. You just want to end things positively, and it's going to be tough. But the Kings of, to their credit, have absolutely answered the call so far. Coming up next, we preview the Kings matchup with Boston tonight, and how about this? A potential new nickname for Domantas Sabonis. We talk about that next, right here on Chris and Company, Sactown Sports 1140, SactownSports.com.
I'm Eric Armstead, and you're listening to Sactown Sports.
Armstead with relentless pursuit, and Eric Armstead came in and sacked him.
You wanted more Niners?
Sactown Sports.
Sacramento's new home for the 49ers.
For a precision-crafted performance, the decision is easy. A new Acura from Acura of Stockton. Get the driving experience you've been waiting for in a new Acura. Get the best selection and customer service you deserve from Acura of Stockton. Shop in person or use our online express store at AcuraofStockton.com. Acura of Stockton will buy your trade, even if you don't buy from us. Don't settle for less than precision-crafted performance of a new Acura from Acura of Stockton and AcuraofStockton.com.
Bartley Kavanaugh Golf Course is Sacramento's #1 course for fun. Players love Bartley Kavanaugh's fun design and great mixture of holes. Near the banks of the Sacramento River, Bartley Kavanaugh's moderately sized greens and generous fairway landing areas make for an affordable and fun round of golf. Bartley Kavanaugh offers a great pro shop, help planning your tournament or wedding, and a relaxing outdoor veranda for a cold beverage or a tasty meal. For tee times, visit BartleyKavanaugh.com. It's Sacramento's #1 course for fun.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go: shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms: irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit NoTimeToWait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
What do you mean he went searching for fresher powder? We have full classes today.
Instructor down at Vesper Ski School.
Toward each other to snowplow, honey, not away.
She needs more ski instructors to slalom through the day-to-day.
Pizza, fries. Whoa, Braley, no, pizza.
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Progressive presents Adjusting to the Suburbs.
I never really thought about tools until I bought a house in the suburbs. It's like this weird homeowner test if I need a tool for a project and don't have it. And my neighbor Ted loves to give me that look when I ask to borrow a pole saw. A year ago, I didn't even know pole saws existed. And now I gotta borrow one from Ted? What is happening?
Anyway, when you save with Progressive by bundling your home and auto, that's the easy part of adjusting to the suburbs. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliates and third-party insurers.
The clock is ticking. Get off the bench and head down to Fasteners Tool Outlet, where you'll find the lowest prices on DeWalt power tools and so much more. Why pay more at a big box store? Get a triple-double at Fasteners Tool Outlet with weekly and monthly offers, including up to 50% off select hand tools, batteries, power tools, and fasteners. Whether you're looking for a Festool sander, a Saws top table saw, or a DeWalt impact driver, Fasteners Tool Outlet has the tools you need to do the job. Make a slam dunk with Fasteners Tool Outlet, 6701 Power Inn Road, or on the web at fastenersinc.net.
Thanks to the Xfinity 10G network, my little brother's friends won't leave our house. When I was their age, internet with basically no interruptions was a pipe dream.
You sound like my grandpa.
Now through March 21st, new customers can get 1 gig internet on the Xfinity 10G network. It's just $30 a month for 2 years when you add mobile with unlimited data. Go to Xfinity.com/10G, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Restrictions apply. Taxes and fees extra. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet. After promo, regular rates apply to internet service and devices. Actual speeds vary.
Hi guys, it's Mark with Coastside Medical Clinic. Are you struggling with ED and sick of the pills? Well, we have a major medical advancement that has helped thousands of men. Our WAVE technology is backed by 60 clinical studies, including from Cambridge University. It's been shown to increase blood flow by repairing blood vessels. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED, call us now. And not only will the assessment and blood flow ultrasound be free, but we'll also include something unique that produces powerful results. You're going to love that one, guys. Trust me. This unprecedented offer is worth $600, but it's free to those who call in the next 2 minutes. Call 916-603-2000. That's 916-603-2000. Guys, put a stop to your ED and get your life back. Call Coastside Medical Clinic now to qualify. 916-603-2000. That's 916-603-2000.
Sactown Sports.
Headlines.
I'm Chris Verlad with your Sactown Sports headlines. Sacramento Kings' 7-game road winning streak came to an end last night when they lost 128-120 to the Utah Jazz. Kings end their 4-game road trip with a 3-1 record, but have dropped down to the 3rd seed in the Western Conference after the Grizzlies beat the Mavericks 112-108. Kings will not have much time to think about the loss. They're back in action tonight when they host the Boston Celtics. You can learn more about tonight's game with Kings insider Frankie Cardicelli's preview on SactownSports.com. Tonight's coverage of the Kings Celtics game starts with game night at 5:30 and tip-off scheduled for 7 right here on Sactown Sports. And now more with Chris and company.
It's roll call time.
Roll call.
Where are you watching the show? At home? At work? In Sacramento? In another country? Chris and Company shouts you out now.
You heard it. You heard the voice guy. Put in the YouTube comments right now at youtube.com/Sactown Sports 1140. Put where you're listening from. Anywhere in the country. You watch it from your garage? Watch it from your boss's office or something? I don't know. Where are you watching from? John Williams in the YouTube comments says San Ramon. How about that? If we get somebody from like way out of the country, that'd be pretty hype. Where would be like the most random? I guess like there could be anywhere, but could literally.
Where's somewhere random where you think someone might be listening to?
Australia, probably.
That's the first country I thought of.
Yeah, probably Australia. We got a lot of Delhi supporters for sure. I've talked with actually a couple like Australian Kings or just Australian fans who have made the trek out here to Sac to watch, and they are ride or die for their guys. Like how you are with Devin Booker, that's how they are with like Delhi, Jock Lawndale, who's on the Suns. They love that fool. Patty Mills, obviously. If we have any Australian listeners, please.
Or Argentinian listeners.
Or Argentinian. Take some Messi fans in here. Why not? Well, it's fine.
I'll wear my Julian Alvarez jersey.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want you to get your Man City people in here. Let's see here. Let's talk about the game tonight. How about that? Kings Celtics. You can read, by the way, Chris mentioned in his update, you can read my guy. I'm taking claim of Frankie Cardicelli's piece right now at SactownSports.com, where he previews tonight's game against the Boston Celtics. And in that article, Frank absolutely makes point to look out for Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown tonight. The two J's, as they call them. They're going to be a matchup nightmare tonight for the Kings. Keegan hasn't really shown great flashes of being able to stick with those kind of guys. HB has been the guy that the Kings just by default throw on other teams' best wings to mixed results, but it's a really tough matchup for the Kings. And the Celtics have won 3 straight against Sacramento, both games last year, one earlier this year in November. Only lost. It should be an accomplishment that the Kings only lost by 18 earlier this year to the Celtics, because the Celtics have just had their number the past 2 years. If anyone will take a trip down memory lane with me here, last year, the Kings lost their games to the Celtics by 27. And here we go, 53 points. That was a game where De'Aaron Fox didn't play. I specifically remember Tyrese Halliburton and Buddy, I believe, were like the Kings' only options in that game. They scored 75 points last year in that game against the Celtics. A combined 80 points they lost to the Celtics by last year. But I also mentioned the Celtics have been up and down since the All-Star break, 7-6. There's a lot of questions. I listened to a good amount of Bill Simmons' podcast, and Bill Simmons is a much noted Boston Celtics supporter, stan, if you will, even. And the hype train has definitely cooled down on one Joe Mazzulla, the Boston Celtics head coach. I don't believe he still has that interim tag on him. I believe he is their head coach after the Ime Udoka situation. A lot of people not happy with just the way Mazzulla's coached. So I'm really interested to just kind of see what all that's about. If maybe, tonight can be the night where Mike Brown really stamps down his coach of the year candidacy. Can tonight be the night that he just completely shoves Joe Mazzulla out of the conversation? I don't think it really works like that, but maybe again, Missoula has a big mistake tonight. Should also mention just a weird anecdote that they're both coming off losses to Utah. That was Boston's last game was on Saturday. So Boston is very well rested heading into today's matchup against the Kings. The Kings obviously played last night against Utah. They'll be playing second night of a back-to-back while Boston has had this nice 3-4 game rest. They're going to have to force the other guys to beat them, man. The non-Jays, not Jason, not Jalen. Get Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart's been someone who's really struggled recently, especially for Boston. Since the All-Star break, Marcus Smart, 12.2 points, 3.9 assists, 2.8 turnovers. Not that great of an assist-to-turnover ratio. Shooting 37% from the field, 33% from three. Make Marcus Smart do what Marcus Smart does on occasion, where he kind of feels himself a little bit. He's got a little bit of Malik Monk in him, and we saw it a little bit last night from Malik, where he's just pressing way too much, taking shots that he just shouldn't take. Is that really the best look that you're going to get on this possession kind of shots? The Kings need to force Marcus Smart to be that guy tonight, not the good version of that guy. Also want to talk about here, Zach Lowe dropped an article this morning where he talked a lot about the Sacramento Kings. It was mainly focused on surrounded about Domantas Sabonis. A lot of stories about Domas and his transition here to Sacramento. You can read that at ESPN.com. Zach Lowe in his article says that on the flight over from Indiana to Sacramento, remember, Sabonis was traded with Jeremy Lamb and Justin Holiday. And Sabonis said on the plane, quote, "Oh my God, we're going to get booed," after watching the online reaction to the trade. I can't imagine he was following Kings fans specifically, probably just the national discourse around that deal. To which Justin Holiday responded, "Dude, they're going to boo the crap out of us." Which is it is really, if we'll all take ourselves back to that day, people were going insane. Just about how, JJ Redick obviously a couple days later says this is malpractice. Everybody on Twitter losing their mind about the fact that they had just lost. It was about losing Tyrese. It wasn't even about getting Domas. I don't think anyone was focused on that. I think a lot of the upset, angry people were just upset at the fact that the Kings were giving up on Tyrese Halliburton, which giving up isn't even the right phrasing. But it also says in the article that Domas talked about the Kings and just their atmosphere with his father, Arvydas, who played with the Portland Trailblazers in the early 2000s and got to experience the height of Kings fandom. And told him, Arvydas allegedly told him, not allegedly, but Arvydas told him about how incredible the fan base is and how the atmosphere is it's just different, is the wording that they used. And Fox reiterated when he first met Sabonis about the fans. And Fox says they didn't even talk about the trade. It was just purely about the basketball fit and how much people were going to love watching him play. And he was completely right. Lowe also tells a story about how Domas on his first game was getting taped up and getting ready for the game and was unaware that the Kings come out to the floor for their pregame routine earlier than what the Pacers did. And so they left him by himself in the locker room, forcing him to walk out by himself. And again, remember, he thinks he's going to get booed. And he receives a standing ovation. And Sabonis just talks about how much that meant to him and how much he knew at that point that this was going to be a great fit. He talks about how he worked with Russell Westbrook and his time in Oklahoma City on pick and roll and how he really developed. And just a lot of really, really interesting tidbits in that article. You do need ESPN Plus to read it, but it is absolutely worth it. If you don't have it, I would suggest just paying that $5.99 or whatever it is. I honestly don't know how much ESPN costs these days, but I would definitely recommend it because there's just so many good tidbits in here. They talk about, Kevin Huerter and Domas's connection with the pick and roll tells the story about picking him the first day of preseason practice just so that they can get an early feel for each other, and how it just went off the bat, right off the gate. Him and Herter had that connection. Also, this is what I really want to talk about. Verla, what do you think about this? The training staff of the Sacramento Kings nicknamed Sabonis Wolverine for his imperviousness to pain. Do we like Wolverine? There's the Ox, like De'Aaron called him last year, the Ox, but I like Wolverine. Wolverine's cool. Like, he kind of he's got like that scraggly beard. His hair is kind of like I almost called him Logan. What's the Hugh Jackman, when he plays Wolverine? He's got elements of Wolverine for sure. And then you throw in the fact, the reason is because his imperviousness to pain. I like it. Wolverine. It's better than the Ox. The Ox is just because De'Aaron was like, he's strong like a bull, essentially. Wolverine makes sense. Like, he's tenacious. He gets hit in the face every single game. He's got scratches, bruises all over him, got a dislocated hand, and he just heals. He's just fine. Give him the ball, and you won't even notice he's hurt. I like it. I think I'm gonna push for Wolverine. I really like that. It just fits. Also mentioned in the article, this is my favorite quote in the entire article here. This is Mark Few, coach of Gonzaga, Domas's former college coach here. He says, quote, "This is a big statement because I've been here for 35 years, but Domas is probably the best competitor we've had here." And that's huge. Again, Gonzaga is like a major program, especially since Domas's days. And Mark Few says that he still tells stories to every single one of his new freshmen that come into Gonzaga. Hears about how Domas post-practice would get in work a few hours later, come back and work on a specific part of his game. He says, quote unquote, he wasn't just working on his game, kind of taking shots at people who just say, yeah, like I just worked on every part of my game this summer. No, like Domas was specifically working on his hook shot, specifically working on his footwork. And he would just spend an entire day post-practice working on that kind of stuff. And that's the kind of guy Domas is. Also, want to wrap it up here with De'Aaron Fox's quote, just about his whole situation, his whole time here in Sacramento. De'Aaron says, I wouldn't say, quote, this is a quote, I wouldn't say that I can't believe we're here now, but I do think sometimes, wow, we've came a long way. A lot of things didn't work out, but I always knew it would take time to win. And that is a great attitude for De'Aaron to have. He could absolutely be angry, upset at how his career has shaken out so far. He could have said, yeah, this is just what happens when you put me around talent. And it's about time I got some talent around me. But instead, he was, De'Aaron, again, just such a great leader. He's a great star to have because he understands these kind of things. It takes time to win. And yeah, you definitely could have done more winning than what they've done in the past, for sure. They didn't have to be continuing this drought for as long as they did. But he understands that that's part of it. And also, I think, this could just be me building story, but there's a chance that De'Aaron got all his losing out of the way early. And he now knows, I don't want to ever go back to that. And he's figured out in a year how to be on a winning team. And Domas credits De'Aaron a lot for his success, for Domas's success, because of just how willing De'Aaron has been to kind of not pass the reins, but share. Domas comes in and he'll get a rebound and he'll take the ball down the court. He initiates the offense. And De'Aaron just allows it to happen because he understands that that's what's best for the team. And De'Aaron's going to get his time. And that's what a great leader is. And that's why the Kings are able to have this two-man game work so well. Have these two stars take their turns and have neither feel a type of way about it, and have the other star feeling good about the other's success. not envious, not wishing they had more, wanting to, if anything, be more of a part of it. Domas, I'm sure, would love if he could get De'Aaron 15, 20 points just himself, setting screens, working that pick and roll game. That's special. That is not something that many teams have. Selfless stars. And that's exactly what we have here in Sacramento. And we should not at all take it for granted. The West, man, it just keeps on moving. In our next segment, we talk about the Western Conference. Keep our eye on the West to see how the things are moving and shaking around in the Western Conference. We talk about that next right here on Chris and Company, Sactown Sports, 1140, SactownSports.com.
The only place you'll find Kevin Herter is Sactown Sports.
Herter's open, steps into three. He's got the triple.
Hey, Sacramento, it's Kevin Herter, and you're listening to the home of the Sacramento Kings, Sactown Sports.
Your local sports leader.
For your everyday vehicle. Right now, you can get 5 quarts with an STP oil filter for only $26.99. Do the complete job for the right price. Get the parts you need when you need them at AutoZone or AutoZone.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Individual rates, coverage offerings, and savings may vary, subject to terms and conditions, not available in all areas. Hey, small business owner, when's the last time you checked your workers' comp rate? For many small businesses, workers' comp insurance is one of their biggest costs. But some don't check their rate often. Did you know rates can vary? In fact, taking 3 minutes to check your rate with Pi Insurance could save you up to 30%. Just go to trypi.com, share a few details about your business, and get a quote that's customized for you with no hassle or hidden fees. We know you're busy, but spending just a few minutes to check your rate could save you money. Plus, when you sign up for pay-as-you-go billing, your premium is based on your actual payroll, not an estimate. So your workers' comp audit experience is simplified. See how much you could save with Pi Insurance. Ask your agent for Pi or get a quote at trypi.com. That's TRYPIE.com.
ATM Mortgage.
When times get tough, you need a lender that gets even tougher. Hi, Jeff Tarbell with ATM Mortgage. We can still show you an affordable path to home ownership, and all you have to do is call 916-338-9400. That's 338-9400, or online at atmmortgage.net.
ATM Mortgage.
License under California CFL and MLS 223-4889.
Kenny and Jerry here from Bell Brothers. If you're thinking about replacing your heating and cooling system, we have a serious question for you. Do you really even know what you need?
There are so many companies out there offering different systems at all kinds of prices. How can you really know if what you're being sold is what you actually need? Or if the price is right?
We believe an educated customer is the best kind of customer. So give us a call and we'll help you understand all the options that make sense for your home.
And if you already have a quote from another company, call us for a second opinion, just to make sure you're getting what you need at the right price.
Quotes and second opinions are always free. So give Bell Brothers a call at 916-444-1234 or find us online at thenosurpriseguys.com.
The No Surprise Guys, Bell Brothers.
This is for the men who never settle, the ones who believe only quitters end a game in a tie, the type of guys who choose the bar with the biggest TVs to overcompensate for theirs at home, and the men who use PTO to catch afternoon basketball in March with the boys. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
Who wants to settle for a single TV? With more TVs, bigger screens, plus our fabulous scenic views, there's more to watch at Twin Peaks.
Sitting at your desk, watch Chris and Company now. YouTube.com/Sactown Sports 1140.
Chris and Company, final segment here. I don't know if this freaks and geeks. We are partnering up with Live Nation, who has your tickets for a chance to check out 3 Doors Down at the Hard Rock Live in Wheatland. For more information, visit SactownSports.com. 3 Doors Down. Got that song Kryptonite. I had to look it up the other day, but Kryptonite, that was a banger. Early 2000s. Absolute banger. Call in right now to 916-339-1140. We'll do caller number 3. Caller number 3. Get your 3 Doors Down tickets. They are coming to Hard Rock in Wheatland. Tuning in to our, if you're just tuning in right now, by the way, YouTube, be sure to hit that thumbs up. Goes a long way. Also, be sure to participate in our roll call where you put where you are watching from. Still looking for an Australian listener. Got Rich, who's watching in San Diego right now. Adam says he's watching in Madagascar. I don't believe you, Adam. Jesse916 says he's at the Snug right now. Shout out Snug on our street. I've spent quite a few nights there in my past. Good to see. Nice to see Simone in the chat. What up, Simone? Simone going to be back in the building today, possibly? Maybe. Maybe we'll see. A lot of people feeling good also in the chat about tonight's chances, about the Kings' chances tonight, which makes sense. You know, I mentioned this on when I was on doing the crossover with Jason Ross. Last night should tell you that you can realistically win any night. You can't go into a night, you can't go into a night realistically thinking it's over and that you have no shot to win, which is kind of how, if I'm being honest, I do personally feel a little bit that against the Celtics. It's just I can't picture the Kings playing well against the Celtics. I just can't. In my head, I don't see it happening just with how the Celtics are built. They have a lot of guards, a lot of scoring guards. Malcolm Brogdon, Derek White, Marcus Smart on his day can give you problems. But then the forward issue of having Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, Rob Williams, Grant Williams, Al Horford. I think it's really tough. They're really deep. There's a reason why the Celtics have been one of the 2 or 3 best teams in the league all season long. It's just a tough matchup. But again, that's not the fact that the Jazz won last night with the conditions that they were in should again just prove that you can't count yourself out on any night. And as corny as it sounds, anything can happen on a given night. Anything can happen. And so you got to remember that going into tonight. Anything can happen. Anything. Let's take our eye on the West and take a look at all the teams around the Western Conference and see how things are shaking up.
Where are the Kings in the standings?
Sometimes a team which no one expects to finish near the top of the standings does finish that way. And fans are not only surprised, they want to know why.
Who's moving up? Who's falling down? And who should embrace the tank? It's Eye on the West with Chris and Company.
Last night, Minnesota and the New York Knicks faced off in the Garden. Absolutely, can you believe? I don't know if anybody didn't see this. This had to be the first thing I started with today after I saw it. Just for the Western Conference standings implications, let's get through that first. Minnesota came in with the number 9 seed. They had lost 5 of their last 6. Anthony Edwards went down with a scary looking ankle injury the other day on Friday. Knicks were coming in, winning 3 in a row. But again, this, just like I've been saying, you cannot predict what's going to happen on a given night. No Anthony Edwards, still no Karl Anthony Towns for Minnesota. Knicks at full strength, no problem. No problem for Minnesota. They win 140-134. Taurean Prince, how about him stepping up for an injured Anthony Edwards? Taurean Prince normally doesn't get that much of a run, but 35 points, 12 of 13 from the field, 8 of 8 from 3 last night for Taurean Prince. What a game. And he didn't even have the craziest stat line. How about this? This is what makes the win so insane and why I had to start with it. Julius Randle, 57 points in the Garden last night. 65% from the field, 57% from 3. He was on one. My guy Frankie Cardicelli, when I sent it in the group chat, was like on his DeMarcus Cousins stuff. Like legit, that is Crazy numbers for Julius Randle. 57 points last night in a loss. Minnesota now tied with Dallas at the number 7 spot in the West. Golden State, Houston last night. Golden State finally gets that road win that's been eluding them for so long. They win 121-108. Golden State had lost 6 of 8. 11 straight road games heading into last night. Houston coming in, playing pretty well, won 3 of 4. Didn't matter. Golden State loss would have put them, honestly, in danger of potentially sliding out just with how tight things are in the West. Golden State was 1 or 2 losses away from completely being out of the play-in and looking from the outside in. But with the win, they now put themselves at number 6 in the Western Conference standings with the Dallas loss. And they're now 2.5 games clear of number 11 with 14 games left. So Golden State's got to feel good about the cushion they've built. And they are kind of slowly securing their play-in spot, which is great. That's Golden State just wants a chance. They just want to be in the dance. And I mentioned Dallas losing last night to Memphis. Luka didn't play. Dallas just doesn't look the same. They don't look that threatening. Kyrie played last night. Memphis now only 3.5 games of the number 1 spot. Denver, they're sit a game ahead of the Kings right now. Kings got to play catch up, man. John Morant's supposed to come back on Wednesday. So, Memphis doesn't really have any signs of slowing down. Looks like the Kings got to kick things into high gear here, come down the stretch if they want to keep fighting for that number 2 spot. Tonight, really quick, San Antonio plays New Orleans. New Orleans is at the number 11 spot. They could sneak into a play-in. Nobody's on their injured list. San Antonio's in full tank mode, so should be an easy one for New Orleans. OKC at the Clippers today. OKC's hot right now, 7-3 in the month of March. Clippers have won 5 of the last 6, and they're doing that little back-to-back kind of situation where it's going to be 2 games in LA for the Thunder. They play today and then again on Thursday. Clippers win, ties them with Phoenix at number 4. And they play Phoenix in the final game of that regular season, much like the Kings play Denver in the final game of the regular season. And OKC win would put them at 500 for the first time since November when they were 4-4. Would also tie them with Dallas at number 7 in the Western Conference and only put them a half game behind Golden State at number 6. Absolute craziness in the Western Conference. Just daily shifting. Daily shifting. Definitely tune in every single day right here on Chris and Company. We will fill you in on the Western Conference standings as they change daily. That's all I've got for today. Thank you so much, everyone who tuned in on the YouTube side, on the radio side, on the app, all that stuff. Thank you for keeping me company for the past hour. I'm hopping on with Deuce and Mo for the next hour. They'll be on next right here on Sactown Sports, 1140, SactownSports.com.
The last time the Kings had a winning season, you heard this.
Back to the hoop, lays it up, around, and in.